everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews and happy Sundance Film Festival. We did it. We made it through. It was a long festival, but we did it. And we're here to talk about our experiences and what we saw. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and I'm joined with my friend Louisa. And not only are you here to talk about the Sundance Film Festival, but this is the 50th episode of Female Film Critics Panel. Can you believe it?
Yay! Thanks so much for inviting me to come on. I've been wanting to do a Sundance recap with you for so long. I'm really excited about this.
And I wanted you not only to talk Sundance, but because you were on our very first panel that we ever had.
Oh gosh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was just something I decided to do. I started it I think I did it in like May or April, May of 2020, like right in the heat of the pandemic, just to keep me sane. And I've done it about once a month, sometimes more than that, depending on the month, depending what's going on. And I've just had such an amazing time. Met so many great people, and so yeah, it's been really wonderful.
They're always really interesting. I enjoy listening to them, and it's really fun to give female critics a voice because we kind of have to stick together a little bit.
I think so. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And so you actually have a house in Park City, correct?
Just a little tiny place, up there. Got a long time ago, so yeah.
So you spent a lot of time at the Sundance Film Festival, many years.
Yes, this was my 20th year. I feel like I'm so old now, but yeah, I've seen things change a lot over the last 2 decades, a lot.
Yeah, this is my 8th year, I think. Okay. My first year was 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, 8th year. I'm 8th year attending the festival. And yeah, it's a great experience. I mean, it's kind of a bummer because the last 2 years they haven't approved me as press. So I haven't had quite the same experience that you've been able to have, but I do get what they call the locals pass, and I highly recommend it for anybody thinking of going next year. It makes your quality of experience so much better. Like, even if you don't, because I saw 28 films, so I got my money's worth out of my pass. But even if you don't, the experience is so much better, because the only other option as far as attending just as a regular non-press is to purchase a ticket package. But if you get a ticket package, you have to try to guess, a month or two ahead of time what you want to see. And the one year I had to do that, it sucked because I guessed all the wrong stuff. I had a lame, group of tickets. And so with the locals pass, you can wait and hear what is good. And as long as it's playing in Salt Lake, and not only that, but you go right to the front of the line. There's a pass holder section. You just go right up there. You show your pass. As long as you're there 15 minutes before, you can get into anything in Salt Lake. And so it just makes the whole experience so much better, because you are more likely to see good films. You're more likely to see stuff that's of your interest. And I mean, I always ask people when I am waiting in the pass holder line, what have you been seeing? What's good? What's bad? And I move things around all the time. And so anyway, just for anybody that's planning or thinking about going to Sundance, I can't recommend the locals pass more highly. It is a game changer. It makes the whole experience so much better.
And the venues in Salt Lake are, I mean, to be honest, they're way better than the Park City venues. They really are.
Yeah.
They're bigger, more comfortable. And you're right about comparing notes, because you and I warned each other on a few movies too.
It's true.
Like, don't see that. Make sure you see that one. Yeah. So that was really helpful. And I appreciate it, because I think we might have overlapped on some of the ones we didn't like, and you were totally right on those, by the way.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yes. I mean, because that's the thing with Sundance is, well, it's always a tricky thing, because with any festival, they'll always have the exclusives, and then they'll have what they call Sundance, the premieres. And the premieres are in a way safer, because a lot of them have already screened at Cannes or Venice or, another TIFF or something like that. Something like Hitman had already played at a bunch of other festivals. And so it's a safe bet that it's like going to be somewhat decent, right? But on the other hand, it's also a safe bet that it's already been purchased or will be purchased, and you'll get a chance to see it later in the year. So, like, you don't want all of your festival experience to be premieres because you're wasting your money, because you can see that later at much less cost. So, but you want some of those because you want some guaranteed good movies. I don't know. So it's like a balance, at least to me. I like to try to have a mixture of premieres and the dramatics, because, or the other exclusives, because you want some risk, but not all risk.
You're being so kind, Rachel, because some of this stuff, I mean, really, it's so weird and so out there, and you just think, oh my gosh, and you don't want to leave because maybe it'll get better, maybe, but yeah, no. So I totally agree with everything you just said.
Well, and you saw 48 movies. Oh my gosh.
I did. I'm so tired. I'm worn out. Yeah, I'm exhausted. I need a week of just a break, I think now.
I saw 28 and I feel like my brain is fried. Like, I cannot believe they saw that many. That's amazing.
And the titles run together, because a lot of the titles this year, did you notice, they're very generic?
Yeah, so I can see that.
Which movie was that? And I had to go back to my notes and look. But yeah, the titles didn't really stand out this year.
That's true. And even with me seeing 28, you seeing 48, we only have, I think it was 12 by my count, overlap, which is kind of crazy. I mean, just how big the festival really is. There's so many.
There's so many I didn't get to see that I really wanted to see too. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's huge. It was huge this year.
Did you have a favorite of the festival?
I did. I had two favorites. One dramatic, one documentary. Mm-hmm. That I really, really loved. I don't know if you saw them though, so I'm really excited about the 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We overlap, but I can tell you if you want to know.
Yeah, tell.
Okay. So my favorite dramatic film was A Real Pain. See, generic titles.
I did
and
see
my
that.
favorite documentary was Every Little Thing.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
The hummingbirds. Oh my gosh, it's really good. You have to see that one. I loved it. Loved it.
Cool. Yeah, my favorite was Ghostlight. And you didn't I don't think had that on your list.
No, I didn't get to see that, and I really wanted to.
I really loved it. I mean, it was almost a guarantee that I would like this movie. They would have to really screw it up. It's all about this like surly construction guy who has lost his son in a tragedy, and he, through various contrivances, ends up in a community theater production of Romeo and Juliet, playing Romeo. So, I love community theater, and it was just extremely. And what was really cool is that the family, so it's a father, mother, and a teenage daughter, they're actually a real family in real life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it had the like authenticity, and it was lovely. And it was nice because it was one of those movies that is heavy at times, but it's not beating you over the head with it. Like, it has enough humor, enough humanity, enough lighter moments that I would watch it again. It's not one of those ones where it's like, wow, I'm gonna die. It's just so depressing. It's not one of those. And I did love Hitman. I kind of hardly even think of that as a Sundance movie. It feels like sort of a bonus because it was at so many other festivals. Yeah, it was at so many
all over. I think it's been at like 3 different ones. I didn't see that because I was like, it's gonna be somewhere.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not going to get a theatrical though. Maybe in Vegas it will, but it's going to Netflix. Yeah, which is a bummer. But
yeah.
And then my other favorite that I don't think was on your list is, I really loved the Luther Vandross documentary. And it's like, you might watch and be like, that was totally basic. It is basic. It's just like a basic celeb documentary as far as this way it's put together and everything like that. But I just really connected with his story and his life. And I didn't expect that, because I'm not like a super fan, or I like his music. But I guess what I really connected with was, he wrote all of these like super cheesy love songs, he was famous for it, but he never really fell in love himself in his life.
Oh.
and I connected with that because I cover all these cheesy rom-coms, Hallmark movies and things like that, but I've never really fallen in love with my life. So like his story, I was like, I get I get you for Fantrax. And I just thought it was well put together. It was very very sweet and sincere, and so that one was a surprise for me, and I think it was just the personal kind of connection that I had with it. It's just like a basic bio, doc, but I did really enjoy it. But let's talk about the ones that we both saw. Because this
Okay.
will be fun. So
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm gonna go through and then we can talk about some of the others after that. But
Okay.
so the first one, I'm just going through your list as you have it listed.
Okay.
The first one that we both saw is Skywalkers, A Love Story.
Okay. I'm gonna check them off my list too. I have them on here. So
Okay.
that's what I'm doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought this was very entertaining. I thought it was well done. It didn't like blow my mind or anything, but I thought it was a fun little documentary about these crazy people.
Yes,
And their
oh
romance and stuff.
gosh. It's about the urban exploring trend where people just climb, the Eiffel Tower. They sneak
Yeah.
in. It's just it's insane. And the
And this
footage just,
particularly
oh
this
my,
couple, these
yeah.
Russians.
Russian couple. Yeah, that was,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't imagine having the desire to ever do that. There were times during the movie I had to look, I don't like heights, and I was like, why did I go see this movie? Because I was doing this like half the time, just like
Yeah.
hiding because the aerial photography was spectacular. Like
Hmm.
they had little, body cameras on as they were
Yeah.
climbing. But yeah, I mean, I think that was pretty interesting. It was,
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember having seen that in a couple
Yeah.
years.
And
So
they kept
that's a
like the
win.
tension and it was bubbly
Yeah.
and I just think most people will be pretty entertained by it. They're
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
very charismatic. You can see why they do well on social media,
Yes.
you
Yeah,
know.
she had a bunch of followers. I forget what her name was. I should have pulled that up. But yeah, she had a ton of followers and has been doing this for such a long
Hmm.
time.
It's
So yeah, maybe
Angela Nicolau.
yes. So her
Yeah.
fans should totally see that. You guys will like it.
Hmm. And I saw it. This is one that I rented, and so I saw it at home. I didn't get to see it on the big screen, so that would be even a different experience with the
Yes. Yeah.
yeah that you saw. That's cool. Next, we have Dee Dee that I
Oh,
saw, and I was mixed on this. I don't think I would actually go fresh on it. I liked some things about it. There were fun moments with the kid. This genre is not my favorite. The like surly teenager, grumpy, not one I love. And I thought that the kids that they could have done a better job of like I don't know, his behavior felt extremely like all over the place to me. And I guess that's true to being a teen in a way. But like the way he would treat his mother was so
sure.
mean. And even his friends were like, what are you doing? Why are you being so mean? And then he would be mean to certain friends and then be mean to other friends. And I get that that is part of the teenage experience, but I don't know. I just felt like his character wasn't very consistent and the writing wasn't quite there. There were some nice performances. Like I totally understand why his sister hated him because he was so awful to her. I don't know. It just tonally, they didn't quite nail it for me on this
Yeah,
one.
it didn't work for me either for
Yeah.
actually all those reasons. He was just kind of a little jerk. And
Yeah.
maybe we just sound like women over 40. And that's what it's like this little jerk like kid. But yeah, I had a really hard time relating to him or even liking him. And I think that
Yeah.
Agnes has to be likable for the movie to work.
Yeah, because it felt like it was trying to channel like eighth grade and be that kind of
Yes.
Sundance movie. But in
Yes.
that case, like she was way more appealing and way more like you felt more for kind of her and what she was going through, I think, more than this kid.
Yeah, agree with you on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah. Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies. We saw Suncoast. We both saw that.
Yeah.
And I liked this for the most part. I think that the stuff with her and her friends to me was the weakest part. To me, that felt kind of inauthentic and kind of forced. But when it was the stuff with her and her mom, played by Laura Linney, and even the stuff with Woody Harrelson, who's like an activist for the Terry Chivo thing, was, I thought, pretty good. It got me the feels at the end when I cried when what happens at the end with her brother, and I thought the girl was extremely good. She was a very good little actress. So it wasn't perfect, but I think I would recommend it.
I think that could have some limited commercial appeal.
Yeah,
Fans that love indie movies, little theaters. It was very strange. It was a very strange story that you can't really talk a lot about it without giving major spoilers, so I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
It was very strange. I thought some of the writing between the mother and the daughter was very authentic and very good. The Woody Harrelson character was just really bizarre for me.
Yeah. Well, I kept thinking, is he gonna like, is he creepy? Do we trust him? Like, yes, I kept thinking, was he gonna like,
yes,
but then he didn't. So I was like, okay, I guess.
But if it was weird though, it's like, why is this stranger she met like in the park? I think she met him in the park or something, and they're hanging out and he's giving her driving lessons. I was like, ew. But I don't know. I mean, it turned out okay. He's not a creep, but that's good. That's good.
So I would recommend it. I think I will go fresh on it, but it's I just mainly for the girl, and I thought just the young teen actor was excellent.
Yeah, she was really good. Really good.
Yeah. All right. Then next we have In the Summers. And this was the Sundance Film Festival for lots of teen daughters. I mean, we had it in Suncoast. We had it in Reynas. We had it in The Summers. There was this movie Daughters, which I didn't see. A lot of teen daughters going on. And I think that this is between Reynas, which I guess we both saw. I mean, we can just talk about both now. But I think the two movies were so similar that I think it's very strange that they had both of them in the festival.
They're right.
They're both. I'm not sure what country. I can't remember, but they're both Hispanic. Little girls trying to bond with their divorced father. Both stories. And I think that of the two, I think that In the Summers is the better of the two. But it honestly feels like I've seen this movie 100 times. Not even just the two of them and others at Sundance, but something like After Sun last year. I mean, ever since Boyhood, I feel like everybody's trying to make their Boyhood movie, and we've gotten it a lot, and it's just, I don't know. By the time I got to Reynas, and maybe it's unfair because it was the one I saw last. I was just kind of like, I've seen this movie now over and over and over again, and like, can we shake it up and have somebody bond with their mothers?
It's weird, isn't it? Like I was talking about, there even more. I'm trying to, probably some you didn't see. There were at least, I think, 4 or 5 out of the ones I saw. And I kind of like that. I was really close with my dad as a kid. So I really like that. But these were all the estranged dads. Yeah. And I do think In the Summers was way better. And I believe that won a couple of Sundance awards, right? I mean, it was really good.
Yeah.
I liked it. They were both good in their own way, but yes, we've seen this story a million times before, and I don't think either one really brought anything too exciting, new, or different, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I do think that In the Summers was the better. I would go fresh on it, but I was surprised that it won. It was just so many strong
Yeah.
films. I was surprised that it won whatever. I forget which ones it won, but it won.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. Okay, then we have Real Pain. We have Real Pain. We both saw that, and I think I'd be curious to know what you think of it, but I think that this movie will play a lot more for people that have are from like big families or like have lots of cousins. Because I know for me, I really connected. I feel like everybody has those cousins where you're like, oh, you're a lot, calm down. and uh, and that's basically what Kieran Culkin's character was. He was a lot of personality, but I thought the script really worked, and it wasn't it didn't overdo it. It knew when to kind of pull back, and it's only 89 minutes, and so I think that helps it a lot too. Because if the movie was 2.5 hours long, you couldn't take it.
That was
So
my favorite, and I was
yeah,
shocked because I almost didn't see it because I forget the movie Jesse Eisenberg wrote and directed this one, and the
yeah,
first one he did was in the festival maybe a
it was
couple years.
terrible.
It was honestly terrible, and I'm like,
Terrible.
why am I doing this? And this one is just it's you can tell it was highly personal for him. He had it cast well. The writing is amazing. It's about um a grown man and one of his cousins who've been kind of close and kind of drifted apart over the years, and their grandmother died, and after her death she left them money to go to Poland. She was a Holocaust survivor. I know this sounds so depressing, but it's really not. It's like really
Yeah.
just really, really great movie. To go and kind of retrace her steps, like see where
Mhm.
she lived and go back and kind of get in touch with their roots through her. And it is just so well done.
Yeah.
Beautifully acted, like well directed. I loved all the characters. They're
Yeah.
basically on a tour. It everything about that movie worked for me, and I'm
Mhm.
surprised because
Yeah.
I
Me
kind of
too.
went in like this, like I'm gonna hate this, and
If
it won me over. So
Yeah,
good.
same. It felt very authentic to me. It
Mm-hmm.
felt very true and it was funny and sweet and makes you tear up. And
Mm-hmm.
it was something you could rewatch. It's not one of those ones that leaves you feeling like heavy. And yeah, when you finish Saving the World was his previous one, and that
That's
movie
it.
was terrible. And
So bad.
it was so bad.
So
And
bad.
I still think if you had a male character doing what Julianne Moore's character does to that young man, that she's
Mm-hmm.
like grooming him. If you had that with a male character, you wouldn't be able to you wouldn't be able to release it. It would
Mm-mm.
be,
No.
and I was just like, what? And I just felt like, is this person, as Jesse Eisenberg never spent any time on YouTube because this character would never make it as a YouTuber.
No. No.
Close.
But the good news is his
The
new
new
film is
one
really good, and I
is
hope
really
people will
good.
check it out because it
Yeah.
is so good. I know it doesn't sound
Mhm.
good, but it's so good. It's
And it
really good.
reminded me a lot of my not only my relationship with many of my cousins, but also my relationship that I have with my grandma and how everybody just she was everyone's best friend. Everybody loved her, and I remember when she had basically kind of like a stroke type event, and we why my sister was living near her at the time, and I was like, well, you need to tell me because we have a special relationship, me and grandma, so I need to get out there if things are and she was like, every single cousin has literally called and said the same thing
Oh,
because she was so special and she just made you feel really loved. And
mm,
so even though we never saw the grandma, just
right.
that affection that they had for her, I really connected with.
Me too. Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say too. You never once see grandma at all, but
Hmm.
you hear about her and you can just yeah, it's a
Hmm.
great movie.
Yeah.
Great
Yeah.
movie.
So then we have a new kind of wilderness.
Okay.
And this was kind of funny because I had the option of seeing Love Me or seeing A New Kind of Wilderness. They were at the same time. And I was like, should I go see Love Me? Because it's like kind of a rom-com, like it's a romance, whatever. Like, should I see it because it's in my space, that I talked about? But it sounded so annoying and pretentious. And I think I talked to you, and you were like, no.
Yeah, it's all those things. Yes, terrible. You made the right choice. I didn't love Any Kind of Wilderness, but I would watch that again 5 times over than Love Me.
And I really enjoyed A New Kind of Wilderness. It was a lot better than I expected it to be, because when I read the summary, I was just like, oh, it's gonna be another like off the grid tree hugger, doc or whatever. And we've seen those a million times, but it actually wasn't. It was about this family dealing with the loss of their mother, and not just the emotional and spiritual and everything that would entail, but like the real practical concerns that they had to make, that this sort of utopia that they developed, they couldn't keep anymore because she was the main breadwinner of the family. And so it was a lot more like just interesting and compelling than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm. And another father and daughter story too.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's another one. Like, yeah. True. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but it was interesting. Mm-hmm. It was interesting enough. Again.
And it was, I have to admit, it was neat that the family was there at the screening.
That's cool.
That was kind of fun. Cool. I try to not have things like that impact me too much, but it's part of the festival experience.
And I watched that online, so I didn't get to. Maybe I would have liked it more to hear a Q&A with them. They were pretty interesting. Again, I can't imagine living off the grid like that either.
Yeah.
So
yeah, not for me, that's for sure.
No.
My friend is living her best life in Ohio on a farm. She has a farm with her kids and stuff. And I guess, it's what she wants out of her life, so I'm happy for her. But for me, I'm just like, I love food, but the amount of effort and energy that they put into food, I just can't. Like boggles. Yes, like, I don't know. At a certain point, I'm just like, I don't care that much. I don't care that much.
I'd love to have a garden and grow some food, but it's really nice that I can drive down the street and get
I go to the farmer's market with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's there.
But
welcome to the Pilot Podcast. My name is BJ.
And my name is Me Too. And we promise this promo is worth it, so please don't skip ahead.
We're 2 judgy friends who put our judgmental skills to work for you. We review the pilot episodes of new and popular shows and shows that our listeners request to answer your question, should I watch this?
Look, a lot of us are spending a lot more time at home, and yes, we should be reading and trying new projects and enriching ourselves, but does anything beat binging a great show?
Let us take the guesswork out of deciding what your next show will be. Tune in to The Pilot Podcast at thepilotpodcast.com.
Okay, so then the next one that we both saw is Thelma. And this was high up for me. I really enjoyed it. It does get ridiculous, but one of my like weak spots as a film goer, I guess, is that I love movies about old people. Like comedies, dramas. I don't know. Up's one of my favorite movies. I like Gran Torino. I like I even things like 80 for Brady. I know it's not like a great movie, but I just really enjoy like that for some reason. Maybe just I had such a close relationship with one of my grandpas and one of my grandmas, and so it's there were moments, especially when she realizes what she did, because it's about this old woman who gets scammed, and she's talking to her husband who's passed away, and she's like, I messed up. I really messed up. And her friendship with Richard Roundtree was so fun. And I really liked her grandson. I thought he was really sweet. And
I liked him too. Yeah.
He was really good.
Really sweet. It's cute.
It is a cute movie.
Love it. It's cute. It does just get ridiculous. Like about halfway through, it's just come on. But I loved that they were just kind of driving around on this little mobility scooter built for 2.
Yes.
It was like really cute.
It was really cute.
I have to look that up and see if that's real. So when we're 80, right up to Sundance, you can hop on the back. Good. I don't know. I might not be a very good driver.
Maybe not even 80. Maybe soon.
Oh yeah, wait, how old was she in that movie?
She was, I think the June Squibb is 90, But
Yeah.
and this was her
Yeah.
first leading role that she's ever had.
Oh, I didn't even think
Isn't that
about
amazing?
that. Yeah.
I read
You're
that.
right. Like, yeah, she's always in support. Well, it was
Oh.
cute. And I mean,
Yeah, it really
it's
was.
harmless and it's one of those really good Sundance palette cleansers. There's
Yeah,
so
it's
much
true.
heavy stuff. And I saw that halfway through the festival. I was like, okay, I'm energized
Yeah.
again. I can
Yeah.
keep going. I can keep going.
Yeah. I saw it. It was one of the first ones I saw, but I just really enjoyed it,
Yeah,
and it
it's
was so
cute.
sweet
Yeah.
and totally in my wheelhouse of things I like.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Okay. Then we both saw Little Death.
I really like that one. And I know
You
I could,
did?
there's no way. I was like, there's no way if you saw that. That's why I'm laughing because it really reminded me kind of Miranda July's like tone and style a little bit. And I was like, you know how much we've like over the years at Sundance, I feel like we have this thing going. It's like, I love her movies. You're like, no. So yeah, I really liked that one.
I
That's
hated it
probably
so much.
one of my second favorite ones.
I said the worst kind of Sundance movie, so shallow and annoying, yet so full of its own virtue. You can't stand it, or at least I couldn't. Everything it does or says, I've seen a million times, and yet I'm supposed to be shocked, grown. That's what I said.
You're wrong, but
what did you like about it? I
thought I don't. There's something about the tone of it that I really liked, and I liked how it just took. It was like two movies in one. After the incident in the closet, I'll just say that because you don't want to give away what happens. The movie it turned into a totally different movie, which I really enjoyed. It kept me guessing. I will say my husband watched that one with me and he absolutely hated it. He's like, this is terrible. He did stay. He didn't walk away. Like he didn't walk out. So I'm really glad about that. But I don't know. Now I really want all of your listeners to watch this and then come back and say if they liked it or not. Because
yes, please.
I thought it was fun. It was at least different enough, especially this year. Especially this year. It was nice to have a little different story than everything else, if that makes sense. But I mean, on the agenda this year, or on the Sundance programming this year, kind of seemed to have a theme, and this kind of threw that out of the window, which I liked. So
yeah, well, the next one that we both saw is The Greatest Night in Pop. And I thought this was extremely well put together. When I only saw it because it was right in between two other things. And so I was like, well, just stay there the whole day. Because I think the song is like a major earworm. It's like a really annoying song. So I was like,
been in my head.
But they only played it a couple times, to the filmmaker's credit. They didn't play it that many times in the documentary. And I thought they did an excellent job of the way it was all put together, of building the momentum, and the way that the interviews were done. And it was just entertaining. I thought the interviews and for something that I do not care about at all, this song I don't care about at all, I thought they made me entertained.
Yeah. And I was part of the Gen X, people that didn't live during the time when We Are the World, that the big We Are the World song came out. It was such a big deal. And the documentary really captured what a massive deal that was. It was just, and again, it's a little repetitive with how they wrote the song and how they recorded the song and all the infighting and all the celebrities but it was pretty good. And I think that's going to be on streaming too, right? I seem to think
Netflix. I think it's actually
Netflix,
next week. I think it's coming right away to Netflix.
So it's worth watching, and it's really fun to Lionel Richie talks a lot, and he had some pretty cool stories about Michael Jackson that were amusing and fun.
And they said in the panel, it was very impressive. They said in the panel that I guess most of the clips that they got didn't have the audio attached to it. They had to go through and painstakingly, they had the audio recorded on these dictaphones. And in the that they've done in the studio, they had to go and match all of the audio to the video clips for anything that was happening in the studio, and then do all the I was like, wow, the sound editing was just the editing in general sounded like a real nightmare. But it was seamless. You never would have known. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know that. That's
Yeah.
incredible. That gives me a little deeper appreciation
Yeah.
for it now. That's pretty
Well,
amazing.
And that's what's great about the festival is when I only stay for panels for movies I like, because I don't really want the panels to impact, it's hard. Like if you don't like something and you sit in the panel and they're like, I worked for 10 years, blah, 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 blah. And then, you feel kind of bad. And I don't really, as a critic, I don't want my response to be impacted too much by that. So I only stay for panels for movies I like, because I already like it, but it is a fun part of the festival experience, hearing, what people have to say in their process, and getting that added dimension is fun.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have, And So It Begins. This was a documentary. I thought this was not great. I was disappointed because it sounded interesting, about the Filipino election. It was just really, really dry.
I agree. I love to pick documentaries about things I love, but I always try to throw in a good handful of subjects or topics I know absolutely nothing about.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested in politics. I was like, well, this could be really interesting. And it was a lot of insult, I forget, like the male candidate insulting the female candidate. And I'm just like, come on, like we get enough of that in the US. I don't want to sit and watch a whole movie about this. It was dry.
There's so many, particularly documentaries at Sundance, that I wish just were shorts. They're just not enough. I wish that in general we had more of a market for shorts, because I think there's so many independent films that would be either a short or like a featurette. I wish there was a market for like 45-minute films, because there's so many films that feel like they don't have quite enough for the feature. But I mean, that's what was so impressive about A Real Pain, is like 89 minutes, it was just, because if you had too much with those characters, it would be too much.
It was just right.
It was just right.
Yep.
And I think that so many times you don't get that. It feels, like, where's the editors?
Yeah. This one was just kind of long and boring. And I guess if you're interested in the Philippines and politics, maybe, but I know it just didn't work for me either.
So next we both saw Frida, and this is about Frida Kahlo. And I would say that this will probably end up on like PBS. A lot of these documentaries end up on PBS, but I don't think it can. She's got too much of a body now to be on.
Right. I know. That was one of the ones that had like an audience warning. It's like, are you 18 years old? I'm like, for a documentary about an artist? Like, wow. I really like that one. I'm not really a fan of her work, but I thought it was really well put together. It was interesting. It was, edited well. Really fascinating character who, was. Yes.
Yeah, I think they did just about as well as you could do, considering they only have like a couple clips, of her. It's always hard for documentary when you only have, so then it's just the still photos moving, past and stuff. And so what they tried to do is to amplify it with animation and other, ways of making it visually interesting. And so I think they made it just about as good as you can make it.
I agree with you. I found it very interesting, and that was one of the better documentaries I saw this year.
And I saw some people saying, well, I don't need to watch this because of the, Salma Hayek movie. It's the same movie. I'm like, of course it's the same movie. It's about the same person.
Same person. Like,
I mean, that critique makes no sense. It was so dumb. So we talked about Rainus. That was a miss. And so let's talk about Between the Temples.
Oh God, it was so bad.
This was my first movie at Sundance.
I'm sorry.
I was like, oh no, because it sounded fun. Like it sounded like,
Mhm.
I mean, I love, Carol Kane and Dolly DeLon, and just some of this cast. Jason Schwartzman can be fun. So I was like, oh, this will be cute, and it was frustrating for me because it had cute elements. It had good elements, but the way it was directed was so distracting to me. I mean, why are we seeing like zoomed up on people's noses and people's eyes, and why they chose to do the sound design the way they did was so off-putting to me that anytime someone, if you hear someone scratching, it's scratch, 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 and if you hear someone chewing, and it I'm sure, I know that was an artistic choice, but it was gross, and it didn't add anything. I don't understand why they made that artistic choice. It was very distracting, and the whole movie was just unpleasant. I really disliked it.
And look, I'm not a filmmaker, but I think that director was borderline incompetent. It was so poorly made. I mean,
It really
I
was.
was trying to watch it and it's just edit, boop, 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 boop. I mean, it was just awful. And I know he had a little. Actually watched that one as part of the online, not like
Mm-hmm.
out in
Oh,
theater. And they had a
yeah.
little. Did you see it in the theater? Or did you watch it
In theater, yeah.
in theater? And they had a thing is they had a little like not a Q&A, but a little intro with the director. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, I've been applying to Sundance for years and years, and I finally got a movie in. And I just thought, well, I mean,
I was like,
it
is
was
this?
it
I
was a
asked a
mess.
friend, I said, is this the way his movies usually are? Because this Nathan Silver, is like, does he do that with his sound design, with his, with its weird directing choices? And he was like, oh, not really. And I'm like, I don't know what he was thinking, because it's just bizarre. It was bizarre, the
I'd
choices.
I'd be interested in watching one or two. I don't know what else he's made. I'm not really familiar with his
Yeah,
filmography, just to see because it was terrible.
it really
If I
was.
taught a filmmaking class or something, that would be number one what not to do. You
Yeah,
were not exaggerating. It was awful. And it's
yeah.
really sad because it did have a good cast, a good premise, and a pretty good story, but I just
Mhm.
it was so bad. I was completely taken out of it
Yeah,
from 5 minutes in. Yeah.
same.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Really
So
bad.
next we have Rob Peace. I'm very curious for your thoughts on this one, because I am right in the middle on it. I think it's well made. I think it's well acted. I just felt like I've seen this movie 100 times. It felt so derivative. I felt like I could predict every single beat. I'm like, okay, he's gonna get shot. Oh, you know, and maybe it's a true story. So what do you do? I don't
Right.
know, but it just felt so predictable that I don't know.
It did. It did to me too. And that was one of the big themes this year that I saw at Sundance was there are a lot of these stories we've seen before, and I didn't think they were really told in a new or particularly exciting or interesting way. Now, this was
Mhm.
really well made, really well acted. It kept me engaged. I think it does
Yeah.
have a commercial
Mhm.
possibility. Like it
Yeah.
was, it was one of the better films I saw at this festival, but yes, completely predictable. But again, it's his real life story. What can you really do with that?
Mhm. And it felt kind of movie of the week, lifetimey to me. I
It
mean,
did. It
it really did. And
did.
I
Yeah.
don't know what you do. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying we shouldn't be telling these stories, because it's important stories to be told, but
Right.
I don't know if there's just some way to, it's kind of like similar to, with the with the music biopic kind of thing, that after a while it's just like, okay, now the heroine's gonna go, oh, there's the heroine, it's like you just knew exactly what was gonna happen and all these people, and so it's nice when something like the Elton John one, I can't think of the name all of a sudden, but Rocket Man. Like Rocket Man tried at least to kind of shake it up with the narrative and the way it was structured and stuff like that. And I don't know if there's some way that they could have done that with this or something to just make it not feel like it was a Lifetime movie.
And I don't know if we feel that way because we're critics and we see
that's
lot
fair
of
too.
movies. We see hundreds a year, not, a handful. That's true. So, but it's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's well made for what it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, then is that the last one? I think that might be the last one that we both saw.
Well, we did a pretty good job between good and like bad picks.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk about, let's see, where are we? We've got 40. Let's do another 10 minutes. And
okay.
Why don't we talk about let's talk about a good one and a bad one. And then we'll flip that we saw that the others didn't see. So I will go first, and I really enjoyed Your Monster.
Okay.
This is campy. It's not meant to be taken like super seriously. It doesn't go into like the backstory of why there's this monster in her closet. It just is. And it's kind of like a Beauty and the Beast take. And it's got a little bit of horror kind of thrown in there as well. And it's got a little bit of a Broadway influence. It's not a musical. It was a little deceptive in the summary. There's one original song, but she's like a Broadway actress. And so like music is there, but there's only one original song. So it's not really musical, but music is a part of the movie. And this was a fun time. I enjoyed it. It's got those rom-com beats, and the actors were having a good time. Melissa Barrera, who was in the latest Scream, she's good. And Tommy Dewey is the monster. And so, yeah, I liked it. It was a good time. I think people
the description
will enjoy it.
Of that one kind of turned me off, so I didn't put it on my radar, but I kept hearing people talk about that.
Yeah.
The whole 10 days. Oh, gotta see this. Mm-hmm. I will definitely check that out as soon as I can.
I could picture some people like getting too sort of caught up in like, why is he there in her closet? And why is he, because they don't spend any time like explaining the lore or what's going on. But if you just kind of, I hate the phrase turn your brain off. Don't turn your brain off, but if you just kind of accept the premise for what it is, I think it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's another one you liked?
So my second favorite one was called Every Little Thing. And it was the very last movie I saw. And it was just the perfect way to end the festival. It's a documentary about a woman who lives in Hollywood and she rescues injured hummingbirds. And because I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to make me cry. And yeah, some of them don't make it, but the success stories are it restored my faith in humanity. Like there's still really good people out there and, showing compassion for such cute little creatures. And I went and bought some hummingbird food earlier today to like fill up I've got to like make sure I keep them full now because.
Oh, that's good. Because
highly
when I saw it, I was like, oh no, this is another tree movie. And if you remember a couple of years ago, there was a documentary at Sundance that was just a tree, is just following a tree. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you kidding me? There's no like commentary, there's no nothing. There's just the tree and it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And
bad,
and so when I saw that, I was like, oh no, it's like it's gonna be hummingbirds instead of the tree. But I'm glad to hear it actually has like heft to it, something to it.
It's great, and the photography is gorgeous.
That's good.
Like just gorgeous photography of little hummingbirds. So if you love birds, if you love animals, like check it. It's really, really good. Really good.
Well, one that I did not enjoy, and this had a big buzz going into it, was Love Lies Bleeding. I can see why some people would enjoy it. I get it. There are some good performances. It's very sexy, so I can see if people enjoy it for that. But it's as opposed to Your Monster, where I was able to sort of accept the silliness. This thing is like, for most of the movie, there's like a grittiness to it, and then all of a sudden it becomes it's ridiculous. I mean, I won't give anything away, but especially, I mean, the ending is outright farcical. Like, it's over the top. And so I think that kind of depends. If you go with it, then you will like it, I guess. But I just thought that it is very bloody. But I don't know. It was not for me.
I tried to wait list into that, so I'm really glad that the line got cut off, like right in front. Oh man. But yeah, okay. That's good to know. I really like Kristen Stewart though. I think she's just a great actor. She's great, and
she's good in it. And Rose Glass, she was a big hit with Saint Maud. I finally watched Saint Maud a week before because I knew that I was going to be seeing this. And it was well done. I don't love possession movies. That's why I hadn't seen it. That's not a genre I love. But it was well done. It was a lot better than this, in my opinion. This just got too silly for me.
Okay. Interesting. So. I can't wait to see it though.
Yeah. What's one that you didn't like?
Okay, so I'm gonna go with the one that we talked about. We were like texting about this. Like, well, should I go see this? I'm like, no. So you know what it's gonna be? It also had a ton of buzz, which still floors me. And it was the Zellner brothers' new movie called Sasquatch Sunset.
You saved me from this. Thank you very much.
I did. I saved you. You owe me for like making sure. Like, oh my gosh, I just want my 90 minutes back. So, oh my gosh. Okay, so I love the Zellners. They're weird. They're my brand of wacky. I've liked every movie they've ever done from their shorts. This thing, it makes no sense. So it's not even a mockumentary. It's like a fake documentary following a family of, Sasquatch. And there's no dialogue. It's a bunch of grunting, barking. It has Riley Keough and Jesse Eisenberg as like the main Bigfoot characters.
And like poo and stuff, right?
It's just gross. Like, look, I mean, I can appreciate 14-year-old boy humor. Like poop jokes can be funny. It's got a lot of people can be fun. It was just gross. And there, you could tell that maybe it was supposed to be funny, but it was not. And I am not a prude. And like I said, I think that stuff can be funny. It was just, I do not get that movie. It was really bad. I don't think anybody in my audience liked it. I felt really bad for them. So it was a mess. It was bad. And yes, thank goodness you didn't go see that. So please avoid that. There's no, it's awful.
I'm like, nature documentaries are rough enough, not let alone a fake nature documentary.
And they weren't even behaving like animals. It was stupid. Like picking up a turtle like a telephone. I mean, it's stupid stuff. Like that's just dumb. Not funny. Not funny slapstick, just bad. So I hate to end on such a bad note.
Well, no, let's talk about one more positive. So another one that was extremely, extremely sweet and everybody will love is Will and Harper. And this is a documentary about Will Ferrell and his friend Harper, who just recently in the last like 2-3 years came out as transgender. And so they decide to go on this cross-country road trip together, the two of them, to kind of get to know this new friendship, this new person, this new relationship that they have. And it was very heartwarming and very sweet. I mean, I can't imagine anybody disliking this movie unless you're just, like a bigot. And what are you going to do? But it was very, very sweet. And the only thing is maybe they had like 2 stops too many. It could have been a little tighter because it's almost 2 hours. That would be my only critique, but it was very authentic and very sweet. And so I think people are going to really love that one.
I'd love to see that. It sort of flew under the radar.
Yeah, it kind of did, didn't it?
Hear a lot of talk about it, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, what's this? So I will definitely check that out. It sounds great. Yeah.
Did you have any others that you loved that you want to talk about, or did we cover?
I think those are most of the ones I really, really liked, like talking about. Yeah.
Did you see Freaky Tales? That was big hype.
I did not. I couldn't get into that. What about you?
I did see it, and I it's fun for people. If you watch the trailer for Freaky Tales and you think, oh, I'm gonna love this thing, you're gonna love it. Like it's exactly it gives you the experience that you want from this kind of thing. I think the first and the fourth one are the best by far, which is nice because it starts you high and it ends you kind of high, and it's very bloody, extremely bloody, but for what it was trying to be, I enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, I heard a lot of talk about that. A lot.
Yeah, I don't think it's hype worthy. I don't think it's like I'm not raving, but
right.
for what I was trying to do, it was entertaining.
Yeah, and at film festivals, the hype kind of snowballs, and then
Yes.
everybody calms down. It's like, this wasn't.
Yeah, and it has a very fun cameo, and that's all I'll say.
Oh, good.
Oh, very fun, surprising cameo. Yeah. Another one that I really disliked, I will say before we go, is Handling the Undead. I thought that was such a snooze. I didn't think you could make a zombie movie be so boring, but it was I
might have seen that.
It was just people standing around looking thoughtfully in the distance with their zombie loved one. That was it for like 2 hours.
I think I started watching that one. Something really bad happens to an animal in that, right? Is that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm like, I don't do like animals getting hurt. Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm done. So yeah, I had that streaming and I turned that off. So yeah, I turned that one off.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, I was like,
there's a lot of meaningful staring, and that's about
it was I watched a little of that and I'm like, yeah, no, done. That's right. I was like, I feel like I may have seen that. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So there we go. We covered most everything that I liked and most everything that I really disliked and everything in between. So we got it. And so this was great for our 50th panel. You believe it?
This was so fun. Like, it's so fun when somebody else experienced the festival and getting to talk about stuff. We got to do this again.
Yes, we definitely should. And we'll both be going to South by Southwest. We can definitely do that for South by Southwest coming up before we know it. It's going to be here.
I know. I can't believe it. It's like weeks away. Seriously. Yeah. Maybe we can do some of the same screenings there.
That would be fun. We've only done because we're both pressed for that one, so we can. So
that'll be so fun.
Well, if people want to read your reviews and everything, how do they find you?
You can find me at screenzealots.com and also Screen Zealots on Twitter and Screen Zealots on Letterboxd. And I have a really long list, my to write list from Sundance here. So
I know
I've got started. It's just oh my gosh. Yeah. So they're coming. The reviews are coming.
Yeah. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And check out the Hallmarkies podcast. Lots of fun stuff. And we're here on the channel, we're doing Jane Austen month. And also at Hallmark, they're doing Jane Austen month this month. And I'm very excited about it. So definitely check out Hallmarkies podcast for a lot of fun stuff. And also, if you were listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. They had this stupid iPhone update that messed everything up for all of us that are podcasters. And so everybody lost their subscriptions. Everybody's numbers are way down. So if you are listening to the podcast on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews right now. It really, for anybody, not just me, it really, really is an important time and we need it. So please, please, please. And then if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. We also have the Patreon group and we appreciate that support so much, and the merch store. So check that out. And thanks again. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.